My name is Mark Schuetz. I've been a forestry contractor and laborer for a long time, 30 plus years. The circumstances that drew me into this literally were hunger. When I was in my late teens, I was just on the road traveling, looking around the country, and I happened to fall into tree planting, reforestation. Tree planting season ended because you're trying to follow the melting snow with planting trees, and when that happened, the rest of the crew was going to start thinning. They just went from, they did the same thing I did with following tree planting, but they never quit. I was accustomed to going home, and they said, you should hang in here with us. And I said, oh no, chainsaws are noisy. I don't think cutting trees down is a good idea. And they said, oh, you don't understand. It's a good thing. So my buddies kind of pulled me into it. I got a chainsaw, and from the first day I said, my gosh, this is great, because it has the same reward as planting trees, but you don't have to dig. And I still enjoy planting trees, but leaving a forest that's healthier and fireproof in your wake is such an incredible pleasure. I think in today's world, we ask ourselves, how can we be more connected with nature? How can we play what I believe and would suggest and have learned is our natural role is one of reciprocity, one of, yes, we take the pleasures of nature. We use wood, we benefit from the clean water that flows from the mountains and all the abundance that flows from farming and ranching. But where do we give back? How do we how do we not take? How do we give? How do we be part of a full circle of participation? And this is my niche. I think we should remember that through the history of forestry, a lot of really good intentions have led to some pretty serious mishaps. The early Forest Service, the early foresters in this country said we needed to cut down all the old growth trees and harvest them, because if we didn't get some new trees growing, we were going to run out of wood. So they got busy cutting down all the old growth trees, and that contributed to the problem we have today. Again, another batch of foresters were positive we needed to stop every forest fire, and that contributed to a problem we have today. Another batch of foresters was really positive we needed to do clear cuts, because that was the most efficient thing to do, and the new forest would most healthily grow back from clear cuts. Now we learn that for the most part, clear cuts cause all kinds of erosion and degradation of watersheds and so forth. One thought I've heard on this subject is, as soon as you're positive you're doing the right thing, you better slow right down and question yourself. So I think land managers are doing that more today. We've witnessed the trouble that's occurred in being so positive you're doing the right thing and doing it to the whole landscape. I don't think we can afford to do nothing. I don't think we should let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If we've figured out something is a step in the right direction, it's probably a good idea that we go with it and try and take a measure that'll help our forests be more self-sufficient. The notion that we're the rulers of the landscape, I think, is losing favor, and we're learning to be partners in a participatory manner that benefits all, benefits the human community and benefits the natural world, and the lines between the two are blurring. We're finding ourselves, if you will, learning to think like a forest. If we don't care for our forests, we may get to a situation that if you look at films of Afghanistan, the mountains are literally bare right to the top. And those watersheds don't absorb and slowly release water to agriculture below. They're flashy watersheds. When you have a big rain, it runs off and it's gone. When you have a big snow and then the worm cycle comes, runs off very rapidly, a lot of erosion, and it's gone. And so the land having a texture on it that buffers the impact of the precipitation and stalls its absorption into the groundwater and stalls its flow to the stream channels is the best thing you can do as far as insurance from drought cycles, from spikes in precipitation and valleys in precipitation, where you have a whole lot at once or a whole little at once. The vegetation buffers that. Biological processes buffer climatic extremes. And we're living, I think there's always been climatic extremes. Global climate change indicates the possibility that there's going to be more extreme, and this is something we can do to buffer those potential extreme climatic swings and still have a good high quality of life.